The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Jack Parazzini. Hey, Jack.
Hey, Dom.
And Thomas Sanherho. Hey, Thomas.
Hey, Dom.
Before we get to our show, I want to tell everyone about a new show on the StarQuest Network that I'm sure you'll enjoy. There's still time to get into. The episodes are not that long, so there's plenty of time to catch up. It's the Vatican II in a Year podcast with Father Matthew Schneider, where he's going through all the documents of the Second Vatican Council, which the 30th, 60th anniversary of the close of the council is this year. And so he's going through all the documents a little bit a day, every day for the entire year, just to give it like in little digestible chunks. So if you've ever wanted to know what the documents of Vatican II actually said, this is your chance. So check it out wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Vatican. So this has been a big month for space-related news, and so we thought we'd take some time to talk about some of it and all the developments. I mean, the three of us are big into space.
It's okay. You can say space nerds.
Yeah.
Space nerds, yes.
That's how we identify.
Jack, I think you're in like Space City, like Rocket City, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And Thomas, you're down right next to Cape Canaveral.
Yeah, I walk outside and watch the launches from Cape Canaveral in my backyard.
So that's awesome. So yeah, we are the space nerds on this show, definitely. So let's dive right into some of the news. The first bit of news comes out of Washington. We have a new administration in the White House. We're not going to get political as much as we can, but there's a new administration in the White House, and that means new priorities for things like what's going on with NASA and spaceflight. And no surprise that Elon Musk has been a big supporter of President Trump in his election bid, and that probably translates to some of Elon Musk's priorities for spaceflight at SpaceX getting a bit of a boost, and the FAA maybe being less of a burden on that. We can talk about that if we want. But the big news, really, from our perspective right now, is the president on Inauguration Day, and among the many things he said, we're going to launch astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on Mars. Now, obviously, there's no more detail than that. We didn't go into detail what that actually means, but it's really interesting. He said we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, and I don't think I've heard a president be that explicit about the going to the stars since JFK in a presidential inauguration. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty amazing. Well, JFK didn't do it at the inauguration, to be clear. I should be correct on that. But that's a pretty significant boost. What do you guys think? I mean, is this a big deal? I mean,
I hope it is.
Yeah.
And I think, like, to frame it, we wouldn't have gone to the moon if there wasn't a race with Russia.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, that's where a lot of that came from. But at the same time, we wouldn't have gone to the moon if there hadn't been political will to do it. If there was not something pushing us to do it, there was no reason to go to the moon.
Right.
Mars is sort of in that same boat where it's like there's not really like a reason to go, but
Elon Musk thinks you need a backup of Earth.
Yeah, we need Earth too. But all of the scientific discoveries that come from a fully fledged and fully engaged space program it's worth it, in my opinion. It always has been, and I really feel like we let it slide so much in the intervening decades. So I'm happy to see the enthusiasm. It's a much larger project than like a one presidential term is going to encapsulate. I mean, there's just the trip itself is going to take 3 years or more. And we, as we will get into with the other other headlines here, we're not ready yet. I don't think I don't think anybody's wanting to strap themselves to the top of the Super Heavy getting there, and we're getting to an interesting space where it's feasible, and that to me is like it's really exciting. And the fact that it's been mentioned and that there might be a political will behind it is really cool.
Yes.
My biggest worry is that I feel like there's been a pattern with Trump's previous presidency, and then I feel like that might carry into this one of getting very, very excited about specific things with specific people behind them, and then that kind of falling off and moving to other things. And so I think that this may be an example of Elon Musk has been supporting him a lot, so he's really boosting him right now. But I hope that enthusiasm and that focus will continue long term, rather than it just being an exciting thing to say for a speech.
Right.
Yes.
Shiny thing.
Yeah.
I agree. Now, one of the things that Elon Musk has been saying is, the moon is a distraction. Like right now, a lot of focus is on the Artemis mission to return man to the moon. Man, I use man in the general sense, to the moon for the first time since, the early 1970s, and, to go back. And Elon Musk says that's a distraction. We don't need to go to the moon. We should go. We've already been. Let's go to Mars. Let's focus all our attention on Mars. What do you guys think of that? I mean, is it really a distraction? Is there value in going back to the moon in the interim?
I mean, I think a lot of the plans they've talked about have been the moon is a good staging area to get to Mars. And I think there's still a lot that we can learn on the moon. And if nothing else, there's a lot of resources that can be gathered there. Mm-hmm. So
right.
I'm not really qualified to make that judgment, but I don't see why we can't do both.
Yeah. And I feel like it's such a waste to have these landable rockets have to have all of their fuel on Earth to launch. So if you can launch Super Heavy, land it on the moon, get it ready to launch from the moon, and then you can load up so much more gear to be able to go to Mars and not have to worry about quite as much fuel to get there. And if anybody's interested in this, I highly recommend finding Kerbal Space Program, the first one, not the second one, and playing around in it, because it will teach you all about Delta V and why you want to launch from a lower gravity body than from a higher gravity.
It'll also teach you how hard it is to launch things.
Very much so. Very much so.
Well, and that's the thing is that, so people know, is the moon has lower gravity, and most people know that. And so if you are doing your manufacturing of fuel on the moon or other supplies, then getting it into orbit, where we need to send it to before it goes on to Mars, is a lot less expensive. It's a lot easier. For every, I forget what it was. There was some number I heard a while ago, like for every pound of fuel to get into space, they have to burn another pound of fuel or something along those lines. I don't know exactly what it was, but the cost to get things from Earth ground to orbit is just enormous. The cost in fuel spent. So the more that you can do in space, the better. I agree. But I also feel like there's a philosophical reason to go to the moon too. Just to go back and to reset and say we are. We're resetting things to the last Apollo mission, 15, 17, I think it was. We're resetting to the last time we were there 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. We're back. And now from here, we're stepping out into, because I really feel like because we messed up. We stopped going out. Mm-hmm. If anyone has watched the TV show For All Mankind, which is the Apple TV Plus series that imagines, well, what if we didn't stop? What if we kept going? By 2020, they're like, I don't know, somewhere in the Jupiter or something, it's like they're like a warp drive or something. We wouldn't actually have that, but we'd be so much further along. I was talking to my wife the other day. This kind of relates to the topic, which is, how did we get here today? Like, how did we get from the malaise of government-run NASA in the space shuttle program in the 80s to this exciting time we have now with commercial spaceflight? And there's like 3 separate legislative acts that happened. One in 1986, and then another in 1996 or somewhere around there, and then another in the Bush Jr. administration, the George W. Bush administration, where they really opened up space to commercial to non-government actors. And that's really what's been the thing, because you can't imagine NASA launching rocket after rocket a few months apart and watching them blow up in space, because there would be no political appetite for that. Right. Because there would be taxpayers going, you're wasting all our taxpayer dollars when people are starving over here. Whereas Elon Musk says, move fast, break things, learn more, get it done, Yeah. And that's an innovator and an entrepreneur. So it's
really
really
been working out for him too. Like, they've been able to create the reusable rockets. They've been able to get so many satellites into space. And we're not just talking Starlink with them too. They've gotten a lot of government contracts. They've gotten a lot of contracts from research companies around the world to get satellites into orbit. So yeah, it's been phenomenal. And I mean, and then, as we get into these other headlines, it's interesting because they haven't always been 100% successful.
Right.
But that's kind of that's only something you could do if you've got real skin in the game and you're a business.
Right. They're making money.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting to see, depending on what news source you read, how the failures are spun as like it's this catastrophic, horrible thing and SpaceX is done and why are we doing this? And it's a failure to understand how engineering works and how these things are innovated upon, because if you don't have those failures, you're not going to know about them. Mm-hmm. And so it's good that they're launching as many as they do, and that as many as they've had explode have exploded, because they just learn how to have them not explode next time.
Engineers like to build things and then break them.
Yeah.
Because once you've broken it, you know what it can withstand. And then have I built it good enough? And then so I will build it again to be good enough. I mean, that's when you see those signs, this bridge can take 80,000 ton trucks on it. They know that because they've taken it to the envelope, the edge of the envelope, and broke, like, not real ones in that case, usually models or simulations or something. But it's the idea is you gotta break it, you gotta force it, and then that's when you've learned what you got to do next time. And we could talk about that. We're talking around the latest launch, Starship 7, I think it is Flight 7, on the Super Heavy booster. It was a sort of mixed bag of a day. I mean, it was amazing to me. They launched the Super Heavy booster with the Starship 7 on it. This is the third launch of the Super Heavy with Starship, and the second time when they've caught the booster coming back. And folks, you got to understand how amazing it is. Mm-hmm. It's like, here's a building falling out of space, a skyscraper, and we catch it with metal chopsticks.
Right.
It's insane. And I love watching this, and I can't understand how people couldn't be super excited by that, because they just don't understand what they're seeing, I guess, because it's amazing to see.
Yeah, just like it never gets old seeing that booster come back, like the way it hovers with. It's like you said, it's a building with fire coming out of the bottom, it hovering in the air and then landing on this platform with those little tongs. And it's funny watching the video, because sometimes you kind of forget the scale of just how massive these things are. Like it's not a tiny little rocket.
No,
right. This is even bigger than Falcon. Yeah,
yeah, and it's even bigger than anything that when you conceptualize it. I think a lot of us still think 1970s technology, right? We're still thinking in that scale, and that was still dramatically smaller than what we're talking about when we're talking about this ship, because this ship is, this is dozens of people potentially, potentially like a 12 or larger crew could fit into this thing to be launched, into the Starship to be launched. So that's incredible to me. With
Starship on top of it, the Super Heavy booster, it's bigger than the Saturn V. Now, I don't know, maybe a lot of people haven't been to Kennedy Space Center to walk underneath the Saturn V booster there. And I think there's another one in Huntsville, at the Rocket City there. If you've done that, you understand how big that is. Now imagine that hovering. It's just, I guess I'm overstating it, but I'm just so amazing.
Not really, because I'm looking at a picture now comparing the Super Heavy booster to the Saturn V, and I drive past the Saturn V every morning on my way to work, and it's a big building. It dominates the skyline where I live. Like,
Right.
so just having that thing flying through the air is crazy.
Yeah. So that part of it went well. That was like, because in the second launch, they decided not to try to catch it because of whatever factors it was. They didn't think it would work. So they crashed it in the ocean. But this one, it worked. But unfortunately, the Starship, the which is on the other end of it, they had a problem in orbit where the engines. So what they say, there are 33 engines. No, that's on the booster. There's like a dozen engines or 13 engines on the upper stage, the Starship, and they as it was trying to get to orbit, they saw that each one was kind of falling off, flying, going off, telemetry or turning off, and then it eventually exploded pretty dramatically. Some of the video that folks caught of it over the Caribbean exploding and coming down in pieces, people thought the world was ending. I think it was some pretty amazing, rainbow colors. But they guess there was a fuel leak. They realized there was a leak into a space that it wasn't venting fast enough, and so Elon Musk says, we already have a plan for fixing this issue and improving the problem or working the problem, and it shouldn't affect our launch next month. I think they've already got another launch planned, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I'm excited that there is so much excitement about it. I'm excited that a failure doesn't mean, oh, now we're set back for years.
Yes.
Okay, we've got another one planned next month. We've got the problem solved. We're fixing it. And there's not this large death by committee review. It's just,
right.
This was the problem. Let's engineer a solution and let's do it.
Yeah.
One of the best parts of the current launch regimen is the video footage. Like being able to see, this was the thing that really gets me, is being able to see the re-entry. This is something that's never happened before. Being able to see as a spaceship came back through the atmosphere and watching real-time video of what it looks like as the air superheats and becomes a plasma around it. And just the technological advance of being able to see this is incredible. My kid, I watch them all with my kids, and they all just love it. We all gather around the screen, and we're just oohing and ahhing over just how amazing it is. And to hear the excitement from the SpaceX engineers on the other side, they're just as geeky as we are, probably more. So really love that. And you mentioned, Thomas, earlier about how the space program boosted technology, and I think it's important for people to understand. Without Apollo and the preceding flights, and even the space shuttle, a lot of what we take for granted in our daily technology would not exist. The smartphones and computers, and a lot of the consumer electronics, a lot of the other technology that we live with, the famously Velcro and the space pen, but lots more and more fundamental things. And so when we do these things, when we do these hard things, these hard engineering things, those engineers have to invent fixes and ways to do things, and those inventions trickle out and into the rest of society.
And it's really interesting because it's one of those situations where necessity is the mother of invention. And we've gotten to a point where we're really comfortable with the way things work on Earth. And once you put something in space, suddenly there's a whole different set of needs that you didn't think about because you're comfortable on Earth. Like, we've got an infinite amount of water. We've got an infinite amount of air. We don't have to worry about these things. But then when we get out there and solve for some of those problems, we come back to Earth and realize, oh, hang on. We could do this thing more efficiently. And it doesn't cost us anything right now. But at scale, the amount of whatever we're saving is tremendous. And then once you multiply that out by the entirety of humanity, it's like, wow, why have we not been doing this?
Exactly. And the great thing is it's not just SpaceX doing this. This is the age of commercial spaceflight. There are lots of companies working this problem. And another milestone this month was the launch of Blue Origin, which is another space company, their New Glenn rocket, which set a milestone by being the first orbital class, the rocket designed to go into space orbit, rocket in the modern age to be successful on going to orbit on its first launch. Usually something goes wrong, they blow up or whatever. It's expected. But in this case, they launched it, and this is another big rocket. It's 32 stories tall, and it got to space. I wish I could have watched it. Went up in the middle of the night, so I was asleep when it went up. But
I was so mad when I found out that it went up without Space Now notifying me, and then I realized, it probably did. It was just like I was asleep.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning. And again, it's phenomenal. It's excellent. I mean, we want to see more and more of these because it means it's going to make it more regular part of life that things, people and things can go to space. And there's huge benefits to all of us to that. Speaking of easy, making it easy to go to space, I've seen the YouTuber Mark Rober just had a video where it's so cheap now to put a satellite in orbit that a YouTuber, created a satellite for his channel that will take a selfie of you. Like, if you subscribe to his Crunch Labs subscription thingy, engineering toy monthly thing,
right?
Which is really cool. But you can actually get a selfie in space. He's got like a camera with he's got like an Android phone with a camera facing it, suspended over the Earth, and they can even take your picture with your house in the background if you put in your location.
Nice.
That's awesome. You're in the selfie twice.
That's hilarious.
But he did this, and it cost like a few $1,000s to launch this satellite, like a literal satellite. And that's because having all of these rockets going up on a regular basis, being reusable, makes it cheap enough. It's amazing. Yeah.
Well, and the rockets and the launch are really at the point where they are pretty cheap. It's the expensive piece is whatever they've got the payload that they've got in the top, because it has to be so closely engineered and so nearly perfect for its operation in space. But even that's getting cheaper too. That's the other crazy part about it, is that there's so many companies now, because there are so many companies that can send things into space, because sending things to space is so cheap. Now they can really work on engineering awesome stuff to send. So satellites are getting better. They're using wildly different technologies. The Starlink satellites, for all the problems that I have with the fact that they feel like they're polluting the skies, they're really neat technology. Like the concept of having a consistent stream of uploadable data. You talk to, like, you think about a kid from the 80s, it was so awesome to learn that you could like bounce a ham radio off the moon to communicate with somebody on another planet. Now we're actually just, sending up Wi-Fi hubs into space that you can connect to. That's incredible.
And with the cost coming down for satellite launches, a lot of companies, even if they're not doing something that's directly aerospace related, have started looking at doing R&D in orbit for, especially for like material sciences. There's a lot of things you can do in zero gravity that you can't really replicate on Earth.
Right. And because launching is so much less expensive in the past, because it was so expensive, you had to make sure that your satellite was perfect, because if something went wrong in the satellite, you can't go service it, and launching a replacement would be, incredibly expensive just to get it into orbit. But because it's so much less expensive, I can imagine people being more open to, cutting costs and doing it, taking risks that they wouldn't otherwise, because, well, if this one breaks, then we can just launch another one, in a few months on another rocket or for a few $1,000s. At that scale, when you're that sort of big corporation, the costs are not as crazy as they used to be. And it's accessible to a lot more people. So fantastic. In one of the other things that they launched this month, that SpaceX launched, were 2 moon landers in one rocket. So one Falcon 9, launched the Firefly Aerospace Blue Ghost lunar lander and the iSpace Resilience lunar lander. So 2 different lunar landers that will arrive at the moon 2 different times in 2 different places. They're doing 2 different missions, and and it's remarkable because it's the first time that's ever happened. You had the two different payloads like that going up, and I love the name Firefly. I'm kind of curious.
Oh, it was called out specifically. That's yeah. If you go look it up, there's some information about that being related to the actual show. So that was really good.
Nice.
Curse, you're inevitable, but was it foreseeable but inevitable? I forget what it was.
Sudden but inevitable betrayal.
I can never get that right, but yeah, that's my favorite line from that show. And the mission was called Ghost Riders in the Sky, which again, Johnny Cash, Men in Black. That's awesome. And they're putting these lunar landers up to do, surveying and science missions. And the iSpace one also includes a rover that they're sending out. And as part of their mission, they also want to see if the landers can survive through the lunar night, because as we know, once a month the moon is in the shadow of Earth, and it doesn't, it gets dark there. It's nighttime, and if we're gonna, as they say, if we're really going to be able to do this stuff on the moon long term, our stuff has to be able to survive through the lunar night. It can't just be for a week or two. It's got to be survive long term, where it gets really cold and really dark. So that's one of the things they're doing. They're doing like a food production experiment, and another one designed to demonstrate electrolysis on the moon, which is important for the production of fuel. That's one of the things we were talking about before. So really exciting and awesome experimentation. And
the fact that they were able to fit two on there, because here's the thing about lunar payloads. You're not just talking about a payload. Like a satellite's one thing, you just put the satellite roughly in the right spot and you let it go, and more or less you're good. With a lander, you actually have to have some kind of rocketry. You have to have a whole small system built in there that actually is going to, functionally bring out the feet and land it, and it intentionally put it down in a particular location. So it's not just a payload, but it's two rockets on a bigger rocket. Yeah, which is probably then also on a bigger rocket. So it's just like a huge, it's the three spaceships in a trench coat kind of thing. But such a phenomenal. The packing job is so neat on these things, and the way that they're able to just compress these payloads down into almost nothing. When I was reading about this one, I was astonished at what they're able to just compress down into such a small space now. Right. The Blue Ghost, they said, is fully fueled. It's like 3,300 pounds, something like that, which is big. I didn't see how big the iSpace is, but probably something similar in that range. It is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. So, so much going on, and folks, that's just all in 1 month. It's just the first we just 3 weeks of this month. There's so much going on having to do with space flight and space news. It's a really exciting time to be a space nerd, but it's a really exciting time for all of us because there's some amazing things. I am so looking forward to the day of watching the moon landing, the next moon landing. I was 8 months old at the last one. I want to be here for the next one. I was 8 months old for the first one, and I want to be here for the next one and see that because that's going to be awesome, dudes. That'd be great. So, yeah. All right. So let's move on. And before we do, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including David P., Father Burke M., Ned G., Aaron D., and Les H. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So, nerds everywhere rejoice. The Nintendo Switch 2 has been announced. Finally. Oh my gosh.
It's been like 8 years.
It's been so long.
So, Nintendo put out a teaser video of the Switch, and it's interesting. There's not a lot of details, but the screen is bigger. Mm-hmm. The Joy-Con controllers are bigger and apparently attached magnetically or something like that.
So on the Switch, they slide into place. My kids are like all over this. So on the Switch, they actually like slide into place, and there's a little bit of magnet going on there, but there's actually a physical click. In this one, it seems like they just like snap into the controller slot. So with magnets, which is cool. I like it. I think it's neat.
Yeah, I like it. I like that. I like the bigger screen. Just as an older dude, more screen is better.
Yep.
There's also a USB-C port now, and a new kickstand, and a new design of the dock. All things, the usual things you expect to see.
Yep.
And possibly
the one thing that I'm worried about is the hardware. Like that's, and it's always, I know Nintendo is bad about this, and I know they don't care because that's not their market, but they always under prep the hardware so that it's like what we're going to be getting is probably last gen hardware on a next gen console. But
yeah,
you
mean like the CPU and that sort of stuff? Yeah,
where it's just not going to compete with everything else that's out there. But they don't care. And if I'm completely honest, I don't care either, because the games that they put out are so good. I'm going to play them anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like Nintendo's about Nintendo's games, like their catalog. Like they play other stuff, but it's really about the Mario and Zelda and the stuff that they're known for.
Exactly.
All the stuff I can't get on my Steam Deck.
Exactly. I mean, we're late to the Switch game here in my house, but Super Smash Brothers and Mario Kart are huge hits. I mean, and actually I love it because I see all four of my 5 kids, because we can only have 4 in Mario Kart. 4 of my 5 kids, racing each other, having fun, laughing together. I mean, it is such a great communal thing, and I do love that it appears that there's a new Mario Kart title coming with the new Switch.
Oh, there will be. For sure. Yeah.
So that looks like fun. Just that stupid Rainbow Road. Let's just not have that. Hate that thing.
You should try Mario Party too. Mario Party is another great group game that we got here, and it's been making the rounds at our house. It's
awesome.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
I'll check it out.
And then one of the things that I asked was whether or not your games would be portable from the Switch to the Switch 2. That seems like it is, but you can just take your library right over to the Switch 2 and you're going to be fine. That's
what I said. Both physical and digital games will be cross-compatible, which is good. It's terrible to have to make you rebuy everything. That's stupid.
Yeah, we don't have a Switch yet, but I feel like at this point we're just going to wait until the new one comes out.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So the timings looks like they'll have more information in April, beginning of April. So we're probably looking, I don't know, next fall maybe for time for Christmas.
We'll see. They've been sitting on this for so long. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 2025 holiday release. Nintendo's not big about long lead times, so
okay, maybe sooner.
They're not big about having their things leaked beforehand, which is kind of why this video came out in the first place. It was a very, very begrudging announcement because everyone knew it was there.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So it's kind of fun. It's good. It's good to hear. Now time for the Steam Deck 2.
Someday.
All right. So our next headline is an interesting Catholic related one. The Vatican City has a new artificial intelligence law. Now, I looked at it and, it's kind of, there's not too much there. I mean, it's kind of the usual, we need to be aware. Like the Vatican's not putting AI into its autonomous weapon systems as it patrols the Vatican gardens. There aren't AI robot dogs there, but although that would be kind of cool. But I think it's more about modeling behavior for others. Putting into practice the ethical and moral ideals behind the use of AI, especially in governments. And that's really what it's about. The Vatican City government, do not violate human dignity, do not create social inequalities, make sure anything AI is accessible, but also things like if creating art using AI to clearly label it and make sure that it is not, I think it was something about not abusing artists' rights to their art. There's an interesting one where it says, "Do not do not draw anthropological inferences with discriminatory effects on individuals." I'm not sure what that is getting at. Do you guys have an idea?
The way I took it was basically because like you see all sorts of AI memes now, especially of like public figures, and people can get pretty rude with them, make pretty derogatory jokes about people, and I think that's really what it's getting at.
And
so
not making them go Nazi.
not drawing someone in a compromising position where
right,
and making it seem like that individual is there.
Right. Okay. Kind of like the Pope in the puffy jacket.
Yeah.
Reading the document, I kind of wondered if that was the specific thing that had that line put in there.
Pope Francis is like, put in something about the puffy coat thing. I don't like that. So there's a commission that will be overseeing this, a 5-member commission on artificial intelligence. Someone from IT, someone from legal, someone from security, the usual thing. That's exactly what you'd expect. And they're going to have an annual report and that sort of thing. So, I mean, it's not hugely groundbreaking, but it is interesting to follow to see that the church is aware of this and the Vatican wants to be a model for how these sorts of things should be done.
Yeah. I'm just kind of sad they missed the opportunity to use the quote from Dune, "Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind."
Exactly. That came up in our recording for the Secrets of Silo season 2.
It's just one of those days. It's going to be one of those years, probably.
Yeah, it's perhaps prophetic. I didn't put in the headline about, and maybe we'll talk about it next week, but the new Stargate company that was announced by the administration between OpenAI, Larry Ellison at Oracle, and SoftBank investing $500 billion over some period of time. Who knows if that'll happen, into this AI project, which is kind of fascinating. I'm just annoyed that they use the word Stargate because it's already confusing, because you have the Stargate TV show and movie and the Stargate remote viewing program that the federal government did back in the 90s, and now because when you try to Google, it all gets confused, and now it's going to be even worse. So.
Right.
Come on, why name it, dudes?
I don't. Why name it Stargate? Like, it has nothing to do with the stars. It's an AI system. What are we doing here?
Because it sounds cool, or it's a cover for the actual Stargate program.
Right.
I think that's what it is. They're funding the actual Stargate program by just hiding it under AI funding.
So we got to watch out for is the Egyptian masks appearing places.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
If anybody from the government with glowing eyes shows up with glowing eyes and weird, modulated voices, you should worry. Speaking of things that the government is doing, so we talked last week about the TikTok ban going into effect, and the rumor that the Chinese government or ByteDance was in talks with Elon Musk to take it over at X, which I think would be the funniest outcome of all this. That would be the funniest thing. But when President Trump came into office, he immediately issued an executive order delaying enforcement of the TikTok ban for 75 days. And the law gives the president some discretion on when to enforce it, but it's interesting because the law lays out under what conditions, and those conditions involve things like there being an agreement under, that in place, ready to be signed. Like it doesn't seem like we're anywhere near the conditions for that. So it's kind of tricky. And what happened as a result is the service providers that provide, the internet access for TikTok and the servers, they went back up. But Apple and Google have not put the apps back in the store, which is probably they're trying to be prudent on their part, because they could be subject to massive fines if they were found to have violated the law. So they're probably just being prudent in that case. What do you guys think of this? The delay in the enforcement, or the ban itself? I mean,
I've never once used TikTok for multiple reasons, because I'm over the age of 25, and also I'm not going to install a sketchy Chinese app on my phone, but I kind of understand all sides of it. I get worried about the government deciding to unilaterally ban things on the internet, because it kind of feels like it goes against the idea of a free and open internet. But at the same time, I understand the concerns, like the security concerns.
Yeah.
I've used TikTok only in the browser for work purposes.
For work purposes.
Yes.
I can get all my Tom Hardy shorts on YouTube now, so I'm good.
Well, that's the thing. Like, because when I say for work purposes, I've started with our social media for StarQuest posting reels and shorts and TikTok, whatever videos from our video-based shows to those, short video networks. And it's interesting to see the engagement. YouTube shorts, we get a lot of engagement on those from people getting to see them, and not so much on TikTok, which I think is interesting. It's harder to break through there. So I wouldn't feel bad if TikTok went away from that point of view. And I've never been a TikTok user. I've said before, I prefer not to give the Chinese Communist Party access to my sensitive data on my phone. That's just me. So your mileage may vary, but
I saw a joke that summed it up pretty well. It's I get my TikTok videos like a grown adult. I watch them a week later on YouTube Shorts.
Exactly.
That's just if you're over the age of 30, you're probably watching your TikTok videos on YouTube. Well, and the funny thing is, speaking of giving the Chinese government access to things, a lot of TikTokers, when the ban was, about to go into effect, decided to switch to a different Chinese short video app run by, basically overseen by the Chinese Communist Party, called Red Note, or Xiaohongshu, which translates to Little Red Book. And it's like, I saw a great meme. It was, oh yeah, you're gonna ban TikTok from me? I'm gonna give stuff to the Chinese government even harder.
It's like, true though. Like this one's actually worse. This one really is genuinely worse than TikTok ever was.
Yeah.
Well, right. There's stories about how people they're getting videos banned for. This one woman was like a video for eating watermelon, and her video got banned because it showed cleavage. Like, it's a different cultural sensibility. Others, a guy got banned because he spoke Chinese too well, because he used ChatGPT to translate his Chinese. He's like, I'm a dude from the Midwest. I've never been to China. I'm seriously not really a Chinese person pretending to be American. And this is like the Chinese government has told the people running Red Note, you have to prevent Chinese users from seeing content posted by Americans, and like you see the censorship in place, at work. So
the way it's. I mean, I understand from a data harvesting standpoint why it's even available in American app stores, but it seems almost antithetical to how they want it to be run. Like, they don't want any American stuff on there, but it's available to Americans.
Yeah. I'm not sure why it's maybe it's, I don't know, maybe for expats. I don't know. That's a good question. Another app I don't put on my phone is Temu. I will not put it on there because I'm just that it feels like a scam to me, frankly.
Well, it is. So,
but that's me.
Well, yeah, you gotta watch out. But keep in mind too, like any of these companies that you have apps on your phone for, they're harvesting your data. Like, it's happening. Especially if the service is free, you are the commodity that's being bought and sold. So just be mindful of what you're engaging with. And, especially though, in the case of the Chinese government, any company in China is to some extent run by the Chinese government. And if they are giving you something as an American, they are also taking many things from you that they're then using in turn to do all sorts of stuff that is pro-Chinese. Government, not just pro Chinese people, but pro Chinese government. So
yeah. So whenever you install an app, though, it's a good advice. Be very much aware of what it's asking to access, what you're giving it access to. Don't let it access your address book. Don't let it access your, all your data. Just click through all of the requests for permissions. Be aware of what it's asking for, and only give them what they absolutely need.
Mm-hmm.
And even same thing goes with American companies like Facebook. I don't put their app on my phone. I access it through a website, and you have to use Messenger, the app, the Facebook Messenger app, if you're going to use it, and but I don't give it access to my address book. It's just you gotta be savvy with that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And some of that's about protecting other people too. Like, giving it access to your address book is about protecting the other people in your address book, not just yourself. If you don't care about your data, that's fine. Please care about mine.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So now seems like a good time to move on to our picks of the week. And Jack, why don't you go first? What's your pick this week?
Well, sticking with our all these different space launches we've been talking about, it can be hard to keep track of them. So a good way to do that is this free app, which, as far as I know, is not harvesting all your data, although who knows. It's called Space Launch Now. It's actually a really good app. Basically, it just gives you one place where you can see like the schedule of all the upcoming launches. You can pick like which launches you want to follow. It got all the links to the different live streams, news articles about it. Kind of just consolidates all that information about keeping track of the launches all in one place. It's free, and it's on iOS and on Android.
Excellent.
And it's a fantastic app. It's so
great. And it will give you notifications. Right?
It gives you notifications, and then I live stream it. Like what I'll do is I'll pull up the live stream to watch the beginning of a launch, and then I'll go back out on my back patio and look out to the east and see the actual launch for the rest of it. So it's phenomenal. I love it.
That is so cool. Cool. Excellent. Good pick. And Thomas, what's your pick this week?
So my pick this week is a video library streaming service, or I should probably say library video streaming service. So this is, you sign into the service with your library card, and then you can see movies, great courses, TV shows, all sorts of stuff. It's called Kanopy, Kanopy. And you just have to have a library card to sign into it, and you can stream all sorts of really interesting content on there. The way it works with our library system is you get 12 checkouts a month, so you can check out 12 things a month. So we use it for great courses. Sometimes they'll have like a great course on there. And then it just breaks the great course up into a bunch of different chunks. So sometimes like one great course will take you all 12 of your checkouts for a month because it's just a long great course. But there's all sorts of old movies, TV shows that you can't really find anywhere currently. Just lots of interesting stuff. So you're not talking about like up-to-date Netflix kind of things, but those kind of movies that when you go into the library and you're looking for something and there's this movie that you can check out from the library, that's the kind of stuff you're going to find on Kanopy. Very highly recommend it. Have found some really interesting things there to share with my kids that I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that thing. Then we just check it out, watch it, and you're good to go.
That's the thing. Nice. to keep in mind is public libraries for a long time have been not just books and magazines and newspapers, but when DVDs or VHS were new, they would stock them in the library and people could check them out and watch them. And they were, first run movies, the movie, same things that Blockbuster had. So they've continued that into the streaming era, and it's been tricky legally. They're trying to get the laws, and the judicial precedents, but this is strictly right in line with that. They can stream these things, anything that's that they've. There's all kinds of ways that they have to purchase the rights and the licensing and that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's been seen as a public good that the libraries offer the access to this. And there's a lot. Your public library has a lot of stuff for you, and you really should check it out. And this is one of the great things. You don't even have to leave home to get it.
Yep. Yeah. So. You sign up. It even has. I have an app on my Samsung TV. That's the the Kanopy app, and just load it up right in there. Put in my credentials. Good to go.
I bet I got it on the Apple TV too.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So my pick is a little unconventional for me for the show, but I was just so excited by the technology in it. And it's a fan. It's a desk fan. Okay. You just think, what's the big deal? I need a fan that's very quiet because I'm recording podcasts. And if you can hear the fan in the background, that's not good. you know, it would be really bad. So I needed a really quiet fan. And most fans, like, circulating fans, they run on an AC circuit. They're on or off, and usually with, a couple of variables of like click, 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 levels of blowing. This is a DC fan. Not that it plugs into the wall. It's not powered by battery, but it has a almost like dimmer switch variability where you turn it and it's a continuously variable adjustment. So I can turn it way down, still get plenty of airflow, and it's absolutely quiet. There's no noise from it. And it's really, really nice fan. I mean, it's not the cheapest fan. You can get cheap fans, down at the Walgreens or CVS for Walmart for, $10. This one's $70, but it's a really good fan. In fact, it's so good. I got a second one for the bedroom because my wife and I both like to have a fan blown on us. And here's a little thing for you. If you have a fan and you turn it on and it doesn't spin, but you hear a whining noise, throw that fan away. It's dangerous now because that whining noise is the motor heating up.
Right.
And it's going to get, in fact, we had a fan where in my son's room that in the middle of the night did that, and it set off the smoke detectors because they were starting to smoke. So yeah, that was a close one. So yes, but so I needed a new fan, and this was the replacement I got. And Vornado fans are really good. I've had good luck with them over the years. But I just thought it was really cool. There was a great video from Technology Connections YouTube channel a while back where he talked about why do fans go, when you turn them on, they go to the highest speed and then the lowest speed. Right. And in the process, and there's a reason for that. And in the process, he explained how all that works and why fans, run on that sort of AC, click, click thing, and why this is, a different technology. So I just thought it was cool. And this is a great fan. I am a fan of it. So, sorry, I had to beat the pun.
I love that YouTube channel too, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, Technology Connections is a great YouTube channel. If you're a subscriber here and you're not subscribed there, you definitely need to subscribe because he's very funny, but you learn a lot. I learned a lot about.
Try to get him on the show.
That would actually be kind of interesting. I learned a lot about heat pumps from him, and I learned a lot about dishwashers from him.
Yep.
And changed the way I wash my dishes.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Totally.
I made my kids watch that video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like, oh, that's how it works. And like we use a lot less soap and all that sort of thing. Anyway, check it out. Start gushing. So that's it for our discussion this time. We would love to get your feedback on anything we've talked about at sqpn.com/technology or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. I'd give you our TikTok, but what's the point? And we're not going to be at Red Note. You can find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC285. And remember to like The Secrets of Tech wherever you find us on social media and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. This StarQuest show is also brought to you by Exodus 90 and the Exodus 90 Challenge, which begins this year on January 20th. This isn't just a 90-day program. Exodus 90 is a spirituality for men in modern times built on 3 ancient pillars: prayer, self-sacrifice, and fraternity. We all long for something more, and that something is to be found in becoming the men that God created us to be, sons of a loving Father. It's time to turn away from our idols. It's time to break free from the pharaohs that hold us in bondage. If you're ready to make a fresh start, to break free, refocus, and rediscover who God is calling you to be in the new year, and embark on a journey to uncommon freedom in Jesus Christ, then download the Exodus 90 app today. We start January 20th, 2025, so go to exodus90.com/SQPN to learn more about Exodus 90. That's exodus90.com/SQPN. Until next time, Thomas Sanherho, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
It's been great.
Jack Barazini, thank you as well.
Thanks, Tom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.